All right, welcome. The beginning of block 2, we're going to be looking at George Green's College Hornpipe. We're going to start off learning the A music in this session, just with some basic left-hand chords, and that's where I want to start you guys with. I did send these on an email, or they are linked down below for you to download. So if people have got that in front of them, I'm going to go through it, so if you want to grab a pen and paper, we'll just get that written out. In fact, just to save time, did anybody not get the email earlier? Because if you've all got it, we don't need to necessarily go through it. Great. Okay. So we've got that there in front of us. So I'm just getting it in front of me as well. We can see that just to visually look at this score, it's a dotted hornpipe. It's a dotted rhythm. It's in 4/4, so that naturally leads us to believe it's a hornpipe, a reel, a schottische, a polka. They tend to be in 4/4, but the fact that it's dotted and the fact it's called a hornpipe, we can kind of see that it is in fact a dotted hornpipe. The dotted rhythm means that some notes are lengthened. The ones with dots, they are half a beat longer, meaning that the next note along in the bar is shorter by half a beat. So we've sort of gone through and chopped every other note in half, and we've taken that half and shoved it into the preceding note, so that you get this long, short, long, short. So it's written into the music that we have to have those note lengths, and that can be something that we look at as well further on down the line, because even though it's written like that, we can be very contrasting about the long notes against the short notes, and that obviously adds extra zest and feeling and phrasing and stuff into the tune. So a quick little intro. Let's start with the first bar. We'll just go in straight away and we'll start learning the tune. We've got the chords in front of us. What I'd like you to do, if this helps you, is to underline anything that's on the pull. So as we go through, if you see a chord that's on the pull, just give it a little underline so that visually you can see that you're preparing to change direction. All right. So let me just start off by playing it just so you can hear it. So, a couple of things to start off with. This outside button number 3, button number 4, it's the D or the E. We use that a lot here, the triplet to start us off. I definitely recommend starting on that outside pair of notes. The D then converts to the E on the pull. A lot of people do find themselves seeing, oh, I can see that there's a D on the score, therefore I'm going to play the D here. But that's going to involve a lot of toing and froing, shuffling back and forth that we can just avoid. Also, I think that it feels nice to step up to the G row. This tune is in G, so we can think initially we're mostly going to be on the G row, and that's where I'm mainly going to stick with us today. Know that later on that might change. There's going to be some row crossing, but I'll leave that as a pin board in the notice board for later on in this block. Alright, so let's start off, let's learn this lovely tune and just gently ease into the block. So we've got the triplet, the D, E, F sharp, leading to the G on the inside row. the shorter and sharper you can make that triplet, the easier to get the bellows involved. Okay. Now, going forward into bar 1, you'll have the rest, your fingers will be in place. So I'm starting on my middle finger and I'm landing on the middle finger on the G so that you'll have spare fingers left over, it'll be fine. Okay, let's just do bar 1 without the triplet. So from the G, have a listen and a watch. Use the sheet music as minimally as possible just to keep some notes. And again. Play that with the triplet in front, we can create a little loop of just the first bar going round and round in its entirety. Okay, so from the triplet into our loop. 1, 2, 3. Couple more. Keep that on a loop if you want in the background while I'm talking. Just a little side note here, if at any point you're getting a bit muddled with what direction I'm going in, you can always look up at the screen and just take your hands off the buttons and just play the air button, as I call it. And what I mean by that is just go in the direction of the bellows that you're seeing on screen. There's extra side notes here to say that can be tricky for some people. There is this kind of mirror image thing that's going on. It's not really technically a mirror image, but there's definitely something your brain has to do to compute what you see on the screen to what you feel in your bellows. So if it's a total nightmare to do that, please don't stress. Keep trying because it can get easier. But it's just a hack sometimes to get the directions correct for the notes. All right. Before we carry on, just a quick little... Is everyone all right with this little tiny section? Are we going at a good speed? I know I always start steady. All right. All right. So we have this phrase, this little nugget of information that does repeat. So we end up with... The second time it repeats, it ends with the D. Right up here, I'm grabbing that with my ring finger. It seems like a logical little stretch. Alright, let's try both of those sections together. Right, this is up to the end of bar 2. 1, 2, 3. And again. So I'm going to put that to one side. It might not be completely there yet for you. If so, pause me here, go back, spend some more time. But we're going to go from that D onwards, and it basically just runs down. If you look at the shape on the notes, if you're somebody that's trying to wean themselves off sheet music, you can see the shape of the next set of notes at bar 3. If you were to draw a line, they're going downwards. So we can assume, therefore, that our hand is going to start up high somewhere and take a little stepwards down. Down the scale, in fact. So this is another side note to say, if you know your scales and you can start the scale at different points along it, that really, really helps you to visually see and also hear what those notes are telling us. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So let's start on that D at the end of bar 2 and just have a listen to what we go into next. I'm just going to go up to there. Okay. From the top. So it's just bouncing down the stairs. Because of that dotted rhythm, we're going down the scale from the C to the B, A, G, F sharp. One more. Adding one note on the end, we're coming back to that middle finger outside button where the D is. Okay? So we made friends with it at the beginning. We come back to that a lot. So do not forget that little friend that you made here, okay? Starting on the top D, we'll go down the scale to the bottom D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. I knew I should have left it on a 3. I beg your pardon. 1, 2, 3. And we're just pausing. 1, 2, 3. Same thing again, one more. 2, 3. Good. Okay. So let the fingers skip down and then the middle fingers on the outside row. From that bottom D, it's the same notes as the triplet, just a different rhythm. Okay. Let's add that on. So we're just building up or out from that whole scale, okay? So play it with me. 1, 2, 3. Okay, same again. Go again. One more. Okay. Any little niggles or anything that people want me to go over again at this point? If so, unmute. Have a chat. Don't suffer in silence. We're going to recap it. We're going to play it loads more. So don't worry if you've not quite got it. Okay. Next little section then. So where we've stepped up from, it steps up to the A. Okay? So that's where the middle finger comes back across. And from that A, we take, this is bar 4 now, in case anyone does want to know, we continue that stepwise pattern down. So again, it's a little bit of a scale, stepping us down from the A. stepping us all the way back to that outside D. Okay. And again from the A. One more. Okay, so if you think of bar 3 and 4 as being two sets of stairs, you walk all the way down the scale to the D, and then it steps you back up slightly, and then it steps you down even further. So that's how it appears in my head. It's also how it appears if we were just to do dot to dot on the sheet music, okay? And then obviously under the hand, it's doing the same kind of thing. We're starting high, we're stepping down, we step back up slightly, and we step down even further. We get more into the guts. All right. So whichever pattern fits for you, go with that. Keep that visual. Alright, let's try from the beginning, or the last phrase I should say, which is the end of bar 2 and the whole of the steps, all of those scales. Alright, starting on that D. 1, 2, 3. And again from the top. 2, 3. One more, a few more. 2, 3. Just a couple more. Last time. Please feel free to keep going over that, or whatever you want to go over. I just want to side note here, just to give you a quick brain break. I feel compelled to say to people, you know, living this in the moment with me live here, if this is too slow for you and it's like, yeah, I've got this, come on, move ahead, please, you're going too slow. Take a step back and really take time to close your eyes and like practice some mindful absorption. It's really important sometimes if we pick things up quickly, if we've got a knack, and or you recognise this pattern of notes from another tune, because it's very common. You can just sort of take a moment to close those eyes and really absorb the pattern. Practice your note lengths, maybe note lengths and chopping notes shorter, letting notes live longer, really feeling the full action of the finger. So as it rises and falls, how it feels to touch the button, all of those other senses that we can bring into this moment that we're sharing together apart. But you know, these instruments are very special in that way. They give us a lot more feedback, you know, through touch, through smell, some of them, if they've been sort of stored in dodgy conditions. So really live that moment, because it all helps to make a memory and reinforce the music that you're making. And I feel really passionately about that, and I've noticed it myself in my own learning, but when I've mentioned it to students, they've also started to recognise those kinds of mindful techniques in their own practice, and I think it's just important to mention it. But as I say, if you're still kind of, not say struggling, but you know, if this is a good pace, then just keep focusing on the notes. Just, no need to take in any other extra information. It might just be, I just need to focus on this one thing, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. All right. We're at the halfway point. I wanted to spend a lot of time on those scales because they come up a lot in this tune. They kind of, this section gets repeated a lot. Let's recap the first 4 bars then. So we've got this little repeating section at the beginning with the triplet, and then we go into that run down the scales, okay? So sort of a question and answer, but there's sections within those questions and within those answers. The triplet bit is always very fun, so I'm always sort of very aware of when that is happening. All right. So all together, we'll take a small pause at the end and we'll get a repeat. 1, 2, 3. Ignore what I did at the end, but we got there. Same again. 2, 3. It. I wanted that step across. That's what I missed last time. Make sure you're getting that in. Right. 1, 2, 3. Go again, straight away. And again. Couple more. Last time. Somebody talk to me. Let me know how this is going for you. Feel free to keep playing. I just want to check in with a voice.
I'll shout up. It's going well for me, but this is only because having danced to this tune umpteen times, it's embedded in my brain.
Yeah.
And I think having it in your brain already is kind of makes it so much easier than a tune you don't know.
Definitely. And yeah. Honestly, I think, even for those of you that aren't familiar with it and only had it, a few days ago, that's nothing compared to years of dancing it over and over again at different festivals. And it really does embed, doesn't it, in the bones.
Yeah.
What does it
contrast that with, am I trying to learn a tune that I don't know very well? And I'll play one phrase and then I'll play the second phrase and then I've forgotten how the first phrase goes, and I have to ask to have it repeated again.
Yeah.
It really makes, such a big difference.
Are you finding as well that by knowing the dance, can you see the figures? Are you kind of thinking, oh, this is the bit where they've got hands across? I actually can't remember what the figures of the dance are, but it's super basic, isn't it? Can you kind of visualize that?
I can sort of. It's kind of the reverse of dancing monkey syndrome, isn't it? Hear the tune and start the dance, but you can't remember how the dance goes till you hear the tune. So it's kind of the other way around. Yeah. Yes, I do see them, yeah.
I think just another kind of plus point for if you can dance or if you can get to play for Morris or Molly or whatever, it can really help your own music because you have then another tool for memory. But, it's also more things to memorise, but it's one thing helps the other generally.
Yeah. Right, I'll shut up now.
No, thank you. That was great. I'm pleased to hear. Anybody else? Even if it's going well, but it'd be nice to hear if it's not.
It's actually surprisingly helpful to me because I've now realised where I speed up.
Yeah.
And though my fingering, which I'm not going to change now, I tend to do a little more cross rowing. But on bar 3, I now realise that all this time I speed up. So it's been marvellous discipline to help me pull back and stay in the rhythm.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a really a good thing to admit, actually. And because going back to what I was just saying about the mindful approach, if if you're finding it hard going this slowly, it's good for you, unfortunately. But that's another great reason that it's good for it is that it trains the fingers to just chill out and recognize where they're speeding up, which notes particularly. That's great.
You see, I probably do more cross rowing in bars 3 and 4, but of course then the fingers just slide down.
Yeah.
You lose your timing. So the way you're doing it emphasizes the beat more. But at this late stage of my preparation, I'm not going to change the fingering.
No.
Until we do some funky chords with it. And I realise
that's the thing. And actually, I think for that bar, whether we're putting funky chords with it or keeping it just as a C, I think I'm only going to add an A minor in on the last half of the bar anyway, so heads up there. But they're going to be on the pull anyway, so you can absolutely cross the row there. And if there's anyone here that is wanting to explore that right here and now, please do. I'm not going to show you that immediately because I know it's not ready for everyone. But if you are at a level, and you feel comfortable to, that's absolutely allowable. But as Val said, it does allow the fingers to slip away, so you've got to keep really strict control. Yeah, John, you're going to jump in with something, I think.
Yeah, I'm making good progress, I think. Still just trying to get the fingers to remember that when they should be pushing and pulling, particularly in that last bar. You're going from one row to the other, and then there's a couple of pulls to alternate with the pushes, and that's just making sure it's an asymmetric kind of pattern of push pull, and just getting my hand used to that is where I'm at the moment. But yeah, it's the pace is okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That it kind of lulls you into this. Oh yeah, it's just pull, push, pull, push, pull, push, and then it's suddenly not. So I totally get.
That's right.
I think it'll work its way out, but also when we start to explore row crossing, which to be honest we've got a little bit of time to do that today. I think that you might just choose to defer to the row crossing because then it will just kind of get you out of that situation without really losing anything other than, as Val, going back to what Val said, it's very important to recognise it needs more control. So yeah, that's
yeah. I think you can do. I think you probably do quite a lot of it. Some of these runs on the pull, but then you lose the kind of the pneumatics of the push pull, which make a difference in a dance tune, I think.
Yeah. It's not necessarily. I mean, you do lose it obviously from the bellows, but you can gain it from. If I just quickly demonstrate, I think I've done this in a Melinar or maybe with you guys last time. If I play it on the pull, or sorry, using the bellows, or about training the hand. Even if you're on the pull, you can still get that pneumatic sound. I like that. But you have to be very strict with the hand because the bellows aren't going to give you anything. So you still can get that feeling. It's just a matter of choice in sound production and how long that finger is down for on the button. I hope that all makes sense, but you can kind of obviously see you're trying to create the same sound. It's just using a different technique to do it. Yeah, I think these things we'll explore in a bit more detail later on, but it's good to plant these seeds now because, you know, the longer you've got with these techniques, and I mean, you'll have forever after this block, you know, they do take time to come on board, but it's good that we're talking about it now. Good. Any other comments here before I move on?
Well, I've been doing a lot of row crossing with my box, but mostly because with it being quite new, it's still really stiff. So it's actually a lot easier to do row crossing. But I haven't really sort of, well, until just now where you demonstrated it, were demonstrating it, I hadn't really sort of cottoned on that the in and out to do runs, it actually has a purpose. So that's quite interesting for me. Yeah. So I was trying to do it by doing in and out. Did not make my shoulders ache though.
That's the thing. It is, and particularly with a stiff instrument. I mean, one thing just really quickly. I don't have a video on this offline. So it's stretching the bellows. It's really good. If anyone else has got this as well, take the straps off. Pull with the air button. Pull as far as the instrument will allow you. And then once you've finished playing, just use the straps to hang this on the back of a door that's not used, obviously, but just find a hook on a wall and just leave it like that for about 2 weeks after every practice session, and in between you're not playing it. And goodness me, there's so much dust. I need to get the Hoover out. They're horrible. But that's really grim. But leave them and gravity will just act on the paper creases and just allow a little bit of elasticity to wear into the bellows.
Yeah.
And if you find that the bellows creep back in, because if they're really stiff they can creep, get a coat hanger with a hook, hang it over the bottom when it's hanging up, and weight it down with some damp towels or something heavy just over the coat hanger so that it keeps the bellows open.
Down. Yeah.
And you'll find a huge difference in that, because you're playing Castagnari, are you?
No, it's a Black Diamond.
Oh, Black Diamond. I mean, similar kind of, they're all paper bellows, there's no fabrics in them,
Paper, yeah.
They'll respond really well and really quickly to that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Right, I'll crack on. It's always good to know these little hacks sometimes. They're really helpful. Okay, so we'll carry on to the last half of the A, but we'll scoot to the end, so we'll just learn the ending because we've learnt 75% of the A music already. Well, hey, it's one of those types of tunes. So the ending, we come out of that little run of scales, which I'm going to leave for you guys now to go across the rows if you want to, or push pull. I really think that you're all capable of doing that, and I will play a mixture of both, so it's on the recording. So this is going from the end of bar 6 now. I'll just play it round. So the run is the same. And then it finishes G, B, G. So if we just zone in on the newest bit. Okay. So that's, for me, that's probably the bit that most people are going to get a bit caught out by. So it's the little run up. And then the middle finger, G, B, G. Okay. And again. Couple more. very end there, you can see it on the score. It's very nice to just play the notes of the right hand against the notes of the left hand. Or rather, it's a slight harmony. A G, D, G with a G, B, G. And that just has a very definitive ending feel to it. Okay, let's add that in to the run, and we'll just play that run with the ending round. Okay, so from that top D, 1, 2, 3. And again. And again. Straight in. And again. Last time. So, just going back to what John said about asymmetry in the pushing and pulling pattern, irrespective of whichever way you go there, whether you're pulling, I think the only bit that's maybe going to catch you out, if it is at all, I might just be hypothesising here, but is that little run, because it's push, pull, pull, and it might just catch you out because there's a double pull one after another. And if that's the case, you pause me here and you just practice those 3 notes. That's what it's about, because the more confident you can get with those teeny little details, the less they're going to be hang-ups, because it's usually, isn't it, it's usually those 2-note 3-note phrases that are the niggles that we just go, nah, it'll come, and we wash over it, but actually later on down the line they're the things that are really catching us out. So this is how we catch them early and don't let them become an issue. So I'm just going to, again, a little hack. If it becomes an issue, that's how to deal with it. Okay. Let's try then from bar 5. So we've got that ba-ba-da-dum-da-da-da-da, round twice, then the little run, da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-da, and then the ending. Ba-ba-ba. Can't help but think this is like an Ivor the Engine. I could hear this on bassoon and it would be delightful. I actually know a couple of bassoonists. Maybe I'll ask them to do a little jolly rendition of it. Okay, so let's give that a go then. So from the beginning of bar 5. 1, 2, 3. And again. One more time. Good. Now, looking at the time, what I'd like to do is put that all on pause. We're going to go through the whole thing at the end, but I want to come and look at some left hand. So as we can see, we've only got G, D and C. This is the typical 3-chord trick, but there's a few extra little things that I want you to be aware of to try out, and that is, instead of just trying to keep a solid umpa, it's not always going to be possible because of the note directions on the right hand. There's occasions where we just can't get what we want. So we make some adjustments, and one of the biggest ones that I lean on in this tune is to use a bass after a bass. So in the very first phrase, da ba da dum be dum be dum, ba da. So I'm using the D bass on the bottom where it's printed, and then for the triplet, because I'm starting on a D and it's the first note of the triplet that's accompanied, because it's where the beat lands, I know I have to move back to the top D. Now, you might say, well, you've got a top D chord, you could keep the umpa going. Be dum, be dum, da, da, da. Totally fine. If you like that sound, it's a little extra stretch, but it's doable. That's fine. If you prefer the bass chord, go with that. I personally like to sidestep and have the bass. I find the bass is more of a, you can push off of it like a runner in a race. It's the block that you can get something going from. There's more energy there. Plus, I don't have to stretch because my finger's already there. So I suppose there's a tiny bit of laziness involved. But mostly it's because I've chosen to enjoy the bass and let the bass exist instead of the chord. So let's just try left hand only. I'm going to play both just so you can hear how it all fits. Really watch my left hand. It's a G bass, G chord, pull D bass, push D bass. All right? We'll go around that. 2, 3. Okay, first error that I made is a G chord bass and a D chord because of the push pulls and things. All right, 1, 2, 3. Try both if you want, both hands. So the last couple of times there, just to show you that it's possible, if you really want to get the G chord in against the A, you can row cross. You can row cross to get the push A. That's totally fine. It will sound a bit weird, but it's so fleeting that that A against a G, which is an interval of a second, so they're really, really super close in pitch. They're not really harmony at all, but the dissonance disappears quite quickly. Okay, so there's a hack. Use it if you want to, if it makes you happy. I don't mind that in this context. Okay, so that's that little area of the tune. That takes bar 1 and 2. And then we move on to the C. And here we're just, if we're going for the push-pull, all we've got to do is learn to be really strict on lifting the fingers. Just to keep it really, really crisp, okay? So let's just take that all together. Val, you go with the row cross, but make sure you can get that crisp sound. Whether you're going for row crossing or not, you can get this to feel like you're using the bellows, okay? And let's play both hands together. I'm going to go a little bit slower because I know it takes a bit more brain energy. All right, just that run. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, same again. Last time. Not too difficult, really. I mean, there are far more difficult things that we did in block 1, but just that extra level of awareness on being really neat and tidy with when the finger is down and when the finger is up. Okay, so just draw that awareness when you're playing that, whether it be across the rows or on the row, using the bellows. All right. Moving then into the D bar at bar 4, we kind of follow the same sort of pattern. But because of the direction change, we have to shift and use bottom D and top D. This is something that not everyone recognises in the beginning, that you have D in both directions, and you can make those basses and chords work in whatever combination is required. So we want a D sound in this bar, so we have to make it work around the left hand. So let's just try that little rundown using the bellows or the row crossing. Bottom D bass and chord to a top D bass, okay? Starting on the A on the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same again. Make that a statement when you land on the D. It's a landing point. This section and add the triplet in, and the triplet comes off of the chord, the top D chord. Okay, so we complete this. Okay, that's what the left hand is doing by itself. So both together, 2, 3, 4. So just to look at that triplet in isolation, that first note is where the beat lands, and it's a very short, sharp little chord to sort of launch it. You're throwing the tune back into the air, essentially, so that it's ready to then land on the G of bar 5. Okay. Let's just try that by itself. So this is the little transition, bar 4 to bar 5. Right. And again. Good. Couple more. Okay. You might need a lot more of those. So pause me, go back over. I wanted to break the left hand down with the right hand so that it really gives you an idea again of what nuggets the tune lands in, and also how the left hand accompanies those nuggets. Also chance to look at the transitions between where one bass ends and the next begins and that kind of thing. So we're going to finish off playing through the A music. Hopefully we can all remember it. We can visualise that sequence, that pattern. Play with the left hand if you want to. You might not be ready for it yet. Please don't fret in this instance. I'm going to play with both, so you've got it on the recording. But by next time, that's going to be your homework, to have the A music with both hands, which I think you're all super capable of. But everyone needs a different amount of time for that to happen. All right. All right. So let's have a go through, nice and steady. 1, 2, 3. D, G, A, G. And again. Tiny bit quicker. Last time. Great. Really good discipline. I mean, for me as well, to keep it at that speed, but also hopefully for you guys to... Maybe some of you ended up being a bit faster than I was, so it drew your attention back to how slow I wanted you to go there. And that is just pure discipline. It's good to learn to play slowly. The more we play slowly, the easier it actually is to play a bit quicker, and you'll have way more control as well. So yeah, don't stay at that speed forever, but you've got that in the bank, and you can always use the cog, which is in this corner, if you do want to try it sped up a little bit more than we went at the end there. Really good. From the comments in the middle there, I hope that this last half went really smoothly for you guys. But let me hear from yourselves how that actually was.
Well, for me, it's just a revelation to be able to play without that having the music there, because I'm trying to make myself never have it there. So it's quite exciting, because it's something that always got me down a bit, because I used to play the piano, and I've started now on this, and I've never been able to dare leave the music behind, and to actually be able to do it. I think watching you do it as well, watching you go in and out, helps me, but it's a different visual thing, and it's getting me off the dots. It's slow, but I'm doing it. So I haven't touched the actual music today at all, and I actually got through without any mistakes those last couple of rounds. So
that makes my heart like so joyous. I've got gold stars here. I want to give them to you through the screen, because that's such a big. A massive, there's loads in there. For one thing, to not use the sheet music, but then to get it right and like feel that, connection with the visual patterns and things on the screen. There's three major things there, and I know everyone else, who's tried coming off the dots and is successfully playing by ear in some circumstances. Everyone is behind you on that, because it's not necessarily easy. Some people have never read sheet music, so it's obviously they've never had the chance to come off it, but it's great that you've had that. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for saying that.
Oh, thank you. That's great, because it's makes me feel great, because it's something that I always felt, it was something that was really lacking, and I felt quite stupid with any group music things I went to, with always having my dots in front of me and being a slave to them. And obviously this is just a beginning, but to be able to do it and to get it right without having the dots there is, it is. It's
don't go back to them. I mean, in all honesty, I think sheet music has definitely got a place in folk music, and actually we wouldn't know a lot of tunes unless they were written down in the archives. Mostly these days, whilst I can read sheet music fluently, I'm not as fluent on the box as I was on flute. So I learnt flute at school, obviously did grades and stuff, so it gets drummed into you. Mostly now I just use it for chords or rhythm. So there's lots of different things you can just use sheet music just for one thing or the other. But obviously any drawback to the sheet is at this stage probably not beneficial. So keep doing what you're doing, and you'll build up that aural connection as well. You'll start to hear what the chords sound like, and you'll recognize, I'm in this position sounds like that, and it goes with this bit of the tune. All of those little connections will start to happen,
and I start to see the music like sort of going up and down a hill, or just coming down a slope, and I'm starting to recognize. I mean, obviously I knew what thirds were, but because you see it on the dots, you don't necessarily hear it. I was probably not the same for everybody, but for me, I wasn't hearing it. And now I can't cheat and look at the dots, so I'm having to hear it, and it's exciting.
Great. I'm really pleased to hear that. I want to just go to Alan at this stage, because I know that you're on a similar journey here, aren't you?
Somewhat, yeah. I use the sheet music to learn a tune. Once I've heard it a few times, I can go to the sheet music and try to figure out, that's what I'm supposed to play. And with the whistle, which I used to play, still do some, I'd throw away the sheet music as quickly as I could, because I wanted to play it from memory. There's lots of mistakes, but the dancers don't seem to care about that. What they cared about, as I discovered the other night, was rhythm more than melody. They want to hear the beat, so they know where to put their feet. And if you play the melody correctly, that's fine, and it's dandy, but it's not what they care about the most. So they'd like it when they hear it, but mostly they want to hear the beat. And that's what I've been trying to work on, and hearing how it goes and seeing how it goes, sort of merging those two things is a good thing.
Yeah. Definitely. And it's one of those things that, as when we're learning the instrument, even now sometimes for me, you get really hung up on getting it perfect and getting the notes right, because the melody is the king, rhythm's king. And actually, like exactly as you say, you could play an absolute handful of spanners, but as long as they're on the beat, people will be able to do something with it.
Yeah, that's what I discovered the other night at a practice, was that they
Good.
wanted me to play a tune that I had tried in practice, my own practice alone. And I didn't think I could play it, but I did somehow. It wasn't perfect, but it worked well enough for them to dance to. And going at a slower speed is a good thing too. Somebody else mentioned that earlier. With the whistle, I can usually play the right speed, although I tend to play too fast. With the box, I'm definitely playing too fast. And the four is always shouting, slow down, slow down. And I have to think. And the more I think, the better off I am. So being able to control all the different things that are going on, it's
I mean,
a challenge, but it's good.
It is tough, and we have a lot more to contend with than a lot of other instruments. Even piano accordions don't have to think about direction, whereas we do, and that is a big lump of energy that we have to consistently think of. So yeah, it does take time. I'm pleased to hear the progress there, though, on both counts. That's great. Barbara, I haven't heard from you. I want to sort of just check in with you. How did that all go? Because and again, you're on a very similar journey.
It was good, thank you. I'm sorry, I got a coughing fit at the end. I couldn't. But I'm just recovering from a dose of COVID, and I'm.
Not you as well. There's so many people getting it at the moment.
It's everywhere. It's just you can't. So no, that was fine, because I hadn't actually got the music. I didn't know you'd sent it. So,
I hope then that didn't panic you at the beginning, because I know that you're also trying to do the
yes. It did a bit, but what I found was okay, but I did not always hold the finger positions, because my index finger kept wanting to go back to the D on the D row, and I had to be really quite strict about that.
Yeah, anchoring the middle finger is in charge of these. Yeah, and yeah. Once that anchor was in place, though, did you find that the pattern fell?
Yes.
Great. I think that's a really another great point. Is that if you recognise where the hand position is and anchoring a finger, if there's a consistent place that it falls, that gives you a safe sort of comfort zone that you can play within.
I mean, and the other one was the top D, because it was just too easy to use the little finger.
Absolutely fine. Yeah. But the thing is, by using the little finger, does it then leave you with lots of spare fingers at the bottom? Yeah. I think just to reiterate a point I think I made in block 1 about finding your truth with fingering patterns. It's good to experiment. Yeah, little finger, it's a convenient choice, but recognizing what it does as a kind of caterpillar effect later on down the tune. It might not be the best choice because of what it does later on, but there might be a way out of it. There's lots of different ways of making it work, as long as it doesn't disrupt rhythm and there's no big massive jumps that aren't necessary, because they tend to lead to lots of mistakes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And Lynn, I just want to check in with you as well. You're diligently practicing away there, which is lovely to see.
Yeah, it's been really good actually. I never really got comfortable with the crossing. It's stupid, the E, going there. I never really got that. I always, when I got to it, I always avoided it or did something else. But I've really enjoyed that. In fact, I now know how it's come to be to do it.
Yeah.
And the chords are coming along okay as well. Nice.
I think that to do with the triplet or that pattern of notes, it comes up in so many tunes. It's really worth, well, you've done it today, we've sat and thought about it, and I think a lot of the time treat it like hot buttons, so that your fingers are learning to be very sprightly, because it can feel really dense and stodgy otherwise. But the quicker you don't, not to go fast, but the quicker their reflex action is, the more quickly they process what you want from them, essentially.
And I think I didn't look at the music before, and I looked at it when we started, but I haven't looked at it since. And I've amazingly picked it up by I think it's probably through doing making sure that I'm not using the music for the last, I don't know how many months I've been doing it. I actually find it a lot easier to learn it by ear now than.
I love to hear this. I'm really pleased that so many of you are getting to that holy grail moment. You know, it really is a marvelous thing. You know, and sheet music's always there if you need it, but if you can hear things, and also super repetitive as well, so it gives you the opportunity to learn it on the fly. Yeah, that's perfect.
That's been good.
Thank you. Well, unless anyone else wants to chime in, I know I've not gone around everyone, although I have heard from everyone now today. I loved that. I really enjoyed taking you through it. I think I'm going to leave row crossing up to you guys then. You can see the obvious places. There are bits of this recording that I did row cross on. That will come into its own in block class 3 when we are looking at more funky chords. So that is when we will need those skills, but we'll go through them then, you know. So if you aren't confident across the rows, don't fret about it until you need to deal with it, basically. Yeah, and I'll leave it there. I think that was a really great class. Thank you, guys. And
Oh, thank you.
weeks.
Thanks, Mel. I think we really made some progress there. It was good.
Definitely. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Take very good care.
Yep.
Hopefully
Fun session. Excellent.
Yeah. Bye.